After going back and looking at the film with the guys on Sunday, played really inspired, had football, had great emotion and energy for the 4 quarters. We talked about that all week as something that was obviously an expectation, but a must in this league, and we know that. And going back, I thought our offensive line played exceptionally well. Zach Johnson played his best game that he's played since he was a freshman, playing all the time. I thought the guys in general up front really dominated the line of scrimmage. We talked about running the ball 45 times, and we were able to get 57 runs. And it was a good combination of running backs and quarterback, which I think makes us a lot more difficult to defend. Easton managed the game well. I think he'll continue to get better as each practice goes along, not necessarily week, but each practice goes along. I think our receivers and Easton will get more on the same page and stuff. I thought we had some miscommunication on a few things, but I think each week we'll get better at that. And then defensively, I was really impressed with our entire defense. I thought Trey Dempsey played his best game that he's played, and since he's been here, and he had great focus and great leadership, and that's something I expect. And Trey and I have a great relationship, and that's something that I challenged him last week to play at that high level all the time, and he really did. And then our backers are just getting better and better with each game that those 3 guys play together, and I thought our front was pretty good, and or better than pretty good. They're exceptional, and then limiting. I think Owens is a special receiver, and he didn't have a catch, and we had 3 different guys on him. It wasn't just always CJ, because in the no huddle you can't do that, and so I thought our corners did a really nice job on him. And then Ben LeCompte probably was the difference in the game as far as the field position, where they started compared to where we started. What made a significant difference, and that's the type of performance that Ben expects and the type of performance that we expect. So that being said, we put that one behind us today. We'll meet with the guys for the first time tonight and go out and have our first practice and get ready for a really explosive Southern Illinois team. So I'll open up for questions.
Have you talked with Easton at all? How is he feeling? He ran the ball a lot, and he took a few shots there. Is he feeling okay?
Yeah, he was sore. I talked to Bobby. I didn't talk to Easton. Talked to Bobby on Sunday, and he said he was sore, but no different than probably anybody else. So he'll be ready to go today with normal week.
Coach, obviously you saw him live, but when you went back and watched the film and watched him the second time, equally as impressed?
Yeah, I thought he did everything we asked him to do as far as getting us into some calls, changing a couple plays, running the ball with authority. There's some things that he would say he missed as far as some of our checks, as well as some communication with our wide receivers, which we've got to get cleaned up.
What's Greg Menard's status?
I'll find out today. He's on that questionable list, so we'll find out. He won't do anything. I shouldn't say I'll find out today. He won't do anything today. And we'll kind of progress him Tuesday and Wednesday to see if he can give us some snaps.
Any surprises? I mean, you had a surprise last Sunday. What about anything show up this Sunday?
Boy, nothing as of yesterday. So I think Greg was the only one that was on the injury report from Saturday that had a question mark of whether he would play this week. Even guys like Bruce Anderson, he won't practice today, but they anticipate him playing. We had a couple other guys. Jalen Allison got nicked up a little bit, but I think he'll play. So I think Greg's probably the only one that will be maybe a midweek decision.
Is it groin?
Mm-hmm.
And what's Bruce's deal?
Bruised ribs.
Coach, what is Ionati doing this year that he didn't do last year? He didn't seem to be able to run the ball when you guys played him in October.
Yeah, they're doing a great job calling plays for him. For starters, I like their scheme. They're running a lot of different unbalanced sets, a lot of different motions, a lot of different things to try to change your eyes up front or your primary run fitters, and that's where I think they've done a really good job of maybe a color crosses your face on a motion and get you out of alignment, and then he's able to crease you. He's a big, strong, physical runner. He's 220 pounds, and he's run over some people. He's run around some people. He's taken some shots, so I know he's a tough player because he's gotten hit an awful lot. But he's doing a really good job, and they're doing a great job of utilizing his strengths, which are, he's an excellent thrower, but just running the ball and then having the what we call RPOs, the run pass options in and out of the pocket.
Is that concern number one, considering that's kind of been a bugaboo the last 3 weeks?
Yeah, just in general, just the whole, in my opinion, the whole game runs around him. You know, whether or not he's throwing the football or, you know, it's not just a lot of conventional handoffs. There's a lot of things where he's reading the defensive end or reading the linebacker in some of their option game. And so obviously he's our utmost focus, but we've got to make sure we understand the personnels and understand the formations because that'll dictate some of our calls.
Running on defense these days.
They're doing a little bit of everything, Jeff. Dale ran it last year, from what I understand. This year, he's not running the defense. You still have some 3-down stuff, which would be, kind of an SIU staple, but they're running some 4-down stuff as well. They're running what we call double eagle, which is out of a 3-down stuff. They've been in, I think, 3 or 4 games, 3 or 4 different looks.
One thing I noticed when they played Youngstown is they even have some third downs and longs where they stand up all 4 guys and they're all bobbing around. What do you call that, or do you see that very often?
Yeah, we don't see it a lot, but everybody's doing it to try to just confuse protection of where do you send your center, where do you send protection, where do you slide people, who do you put the back in charge of. All those things are designed to try to confuse protection and get a guy free, and we see it on occasion, but if they're having success getting somebody home, and that's everybody's trying to do now, even on some of the looks we do where we'll show Nick coming and he doesn't come, or we show Nick coming and he comes. I mean, that's people are doing such a great job of sliding to so your best pass rusher that you've got to find ways to try to get some one-on-one matchups.
Where's Lance Dunn in your equation right now?
I'm hoping he's just a little bit healthier this week, and that's a big thing. I thought Lance ran hard in between the tackles. I don't think he was 100% on some of the outside G runs that we had, still lingering from his hamstring, but I'm hoping this week that he's closer to 100%. I couldn't tell you. I think I know he wasn't 100% Saturday, whether he was thought he was at 95 or 85, whatever it may be. I'm hoping that he can be closer to 100% because he's a physical runner, and he does have the speed when healthy to get around the edge.
Coach, they've lost 4 games by a combined 8 points. Have you ever experienced that, and what would you say to a team, or how to describe a team?
That's tough, obviously, but they found a way to win, and I think that's what's so impressive about what Dale's doing down there is the fact of those kids. Hey, we got to find a way to win, and they found a way. They were down by 11 points with 5 minutes left, made a great play to get them within 3, got a great stop, and then tied it up. And in overtime, those kids found a way to win against a really good Youngstown State football team. And I think sometimes you have to get over the hump. Now, hopefully it's not this week for them where they felt like they got over the hump and they can do it again. But it can be difficult losing close games back to back.
Is there any advantage or disadvantage of playing a second straight road game, or what goes into that?
Well, there's obviously more disadvantages. You'd rather have the schedule evened out where you're home and away. But it's just the travel stuff. That's more the issue than anything of cutting your day a little bit shorter on Friday than you'd like because of travel. All the things that go into Saturday prior to that game, getting all your stuff in, making sure that you have enough time. That's the disadvantage. The advantage is it's just us 60 guys and coaches and stuff that are able to maybe lock down a little bit more when we are on the road. We maybe spend a little bit more time in the meeting room in the evening. We just don't give as much field time as we would on a normal Friday.
I know you talked about you're making some changes to do some different things this last week. Is there anybody that got more reps that you really thought made a charge to get even more reps or anything like that?
Well, when Greg went down in the first half, we played Caleb Butler some, and Caleb is a real strong kid that's just pretty raw and green as far as what his knowledge of our defense is, but he's extremely strong young man, so he played a little bit more than we even thought he was going to when Greg went down, and he had some success, and so we played him a little bit more in the second half even. So he's probably a guy that elevates himself to maybe getting 15 to 25 snaps, splitting it with Stanley Jones based on Greg's availability. Jack Planker's played a lot more, and I thought Jack did a really good job. And that was one guy that I thought we needed to get more reps to, and I think we doubled his reps from the week prior, and Jack played at a high level. Now that also helps Landon Leckler, who's a really good football player that's playing really well for us, not have to play 75 snaps. It's helping Jeremy Kelly maybe not have to play 75 snaps. Same with Zach Johnson. Kunert and Hager, the two that probably are going to stay on the field all the time. And then those other three guys, the other three spots, if we can rotate 4 guys, we're going to take 5 to 10 snaps off of everybody and give Jack a few more.
How big was it to have Austin back in the lineup and kind of controlling that game, especially with Easton making his first start?
Yeah, especially as much zero-nose as they played. Austin's a 2-year starter. Obviously played guard, but he's just got so much game experience and does a great job of calling all our line games. That sometimes we take for granted. I did how good Jesse Hines really was of making all the line calls and stuff, and bringing Austin back. And Zemer did a nice job. Austin's probably a little bit better at the point of attack. Zeem's going to be a really good player, but Austin's probably a little stronger at the point of attack. And so it was good for us to have Austin back, because I thought we really did a nice job of, even when we were getting 3 or 4 yards in some run game, of wearing those guys down, to the fact of, I asked you guys after the game how many minutes we had that thing in the second half. I was shocked at how few plays we watched on defense in that second half. I think we had it 10 minutes each quarter, which really will wear somebody down.
Is the league played out just pretty much like you thought with 4 weeks to go?
Yeah, I think Illinois State's probably the best team. They had the most guys probably returning with the dynamic players they had on offense. And once again, I haven't even seen them play, but I just see the scores. And everybody else, there's a bunch of teams with 1 and 2 losses that are battling. And we're going to knock each other off a little bit. But our hope and our goal is for the league to get 5 teams in. And there's a chance at that. And if we keep knocking each other off, we may only get 4 or something. But, there's still a lot of league play left. That's the thing. We're just at the halfway point, and we know we've got our work cut out for us with 4 great opponents, starting with Southern Illinois.
Southern kind of likes to run the no huddle, and you've seen it a little bit already this year. Is there anything different that you guys do to prepare and practice for it?
Yeah, there's a conscious effort to simulate the tempo offense, and so we'll have on our scout offense 11 bodies in 2 huddles, and it may be a tight end playing guard, it may be a quarterback playing wide receiver, all those things, to try to go as fast as you can to try to simulate that for the guys, of just getting your hand in the dirt, seeing a call and playing it. That's the positive. The negative is you're running 115 plays in a practice, and some of these guys have played a lot of football games for us, and you don't want to wear them down. And then we talked about that extensively as a defensive staff on Sunday, of with Brian and Nate in there taking as many snaps. We have to shelve C.J. Smith some just to keep protecting his knee. Same with Jordan Champion with a hamstring. So we're trying to get enough pictures and looks so everybody feels comfortable, and it's chaotic. And that's what it has to be, is chaotic, because we even misaligned a couple of times on Saturday due to the no huddle. But guys were at least sprinting to their spot and ultimately knew what they were doing, whereas previous weeks I thought sometimes we got caught looking back to the sideline, and that's something we can't do, especially against a team of the skill level that Southern has.
How long does it take, Chris, to adjust to that? You talk about seeing the picture enough during the course of a game. How long do you have to see it before you kind of get a feel of where things are going?
No, I'd like to say on the first play, but that's probably not. It really helped us. Once again, I go back to Ben LeCompte. When he kicked it and they caught it at the 3, and it was a perfectly placed kick, and it was a tough decision by their kid, and he ends up going out of bounds at the 3. they had to slow down to make sure that they could get themselves aligned, and they weren't able to go as fast as they wanted to go, and that allowed our guys to kind of get settled in on that first series. And you hope by the second series you are settled in. Really, you hope by the second series. And that's where on the no huddle, we've seen that fast-paced tempo goes all the way down the field, because you can simulate maybe the speed at practice, but you're not simulating a 6'5", 320-pound guard coming at you. You may have Ben Ellefson playing guard trying to do that, or a tight end playing wide receiver in not the same speed as you'd have in a game. And that's where that first series is always worrisome as a coach, because it's going to come so much faster than what you practice.
We obviously saw his running ability, 9 of 20 throwing. Is he a better thrower than that? Was it tough conditions with the winds, or?
A little bit of both. No question. We need to improve on that. And part of that is reps and game experience, and us going to practice and working more man concept stuff. And that's what I was afraid of would happen is, they see a new quarterback and they're going to blitz us more, which they did, play man coverage more, which they did, which makes your windows much tighter to throw in. On the flip side, if you're going to blitz people an awful lot and pressure and play man coverage, you don't have many eyes on the quarterback, and we were of a benefit to that. So we have to do some things to increase that to 60%, no question.
Coach, what do you do this week with a bunch of different fronts from Southern to help Easton make sure he's in the right protection schemes?
Well, another thing we talked about, the offense. We got all those offensive linemen that have played an awful lot of games, and you don't want to give that many 115, 120 play practices to Joe Haig, but in the same respect, Easton Stick needs all those looks. So we may have to slow it down and just do some blitz period stuff or some front adjustment and recognition things, because you're right. We can't just call a play, because if they line up in a certain front, it's not going to work. So we're going to have to call a couple plays, and based on the fronts, we may have to make some checks. And so we're going to have to do a little bit more walkthrough. We're going to have to do some things to possibly slow it down without killing our offensive linemen for his repetition. But they're going to come out with multiple fronts, and something that we have to be able to adjust quickly on Saturday. Same thing really with Indiana State. They came out and they played a bunch of different fronts, and we were finally able to, in the second half, figure it out of, okay, here's what they're doing based on these personnels and these formations, and it may take that time. And that's why it's so imperative for our defense to get off the field, to get our offense the ball, so that we can have 3 or 4 extra possessions. And we had the thing for 40 minutes. Well, you have it for 40 minutes, ultimately you're going to solve something, and we were able to do that. Now, if it's a 30-30 game and they're out there defensively for 80 plays, we're going to have a problem on offense. Absolutely. Those are things that we're talking about every day.